The smell of barbecue in the air. The fizz of a sparkler cutting through the dark. That beautiful, booming echo of fireworks painting the night sky red, white, and blue. It's the sound of celebration. But what if all that noise is just cover? What if the brightest night of the year is also the darkest? I'm Blair Morgan, and tonight we're looking at the terrifying moments when the 4th of July fireworks weren't loud enough to hide the screams. We'll hear about a predator using a crowded party as his hunting ground, a teenager forced to jump from his own bedroom window to escape, and a chilling, handwritten note left behind by an intruder who was watching the whole time. These are true stories of when Independence Day became a nightmare. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? There's something about big celebrations, all that noise, the crowds, the intense emotions. It's like a perfect storm. It creates this kind of static that can hide things that are happening right in plain sight. A perfect breeding ground for events that are anything but festive. The 3 accounts I'm about to share with you tonight are from people who discovered that truth in the most terrifying way. Their 4th of July celebrations were twisted into something they will never forget. These aren't just scary stories. They're warnings, echoes from a celebration that went horribly wrong. It makes you wonder how many other strange or unsettling things go unnoticed in the chaos. I'm genuinely curious so let me know in the comments below. What is the creepiest thing you've ever experienced during a holiday? Let's talk about it as your stories start to come in. Allow me to share the first one I have for you tonight. It comes from a man named Jake, but it happened way back in the summer of 2007, when he was just 16. It was the night of the 4th of July, and his older sister had guilt him into going to this massive party upstate. They called it the Rockway Bomb Show. It was less of a party and more of a temporary chaotic town built around a bonfire in the middle of nowhere. Jake was shy, awkward, and felt like a child wandering through a world of giants. Everyone there seemed to be in their 20s, moving with an easy confidence he just couldn't fake. The air was thick with the smell of cheap beer, bonfire smoke, and damp earth. Music from 3 different trucks bled into a single thumping pulse that he could feel in his ribs, but it did nothing to drown out the voice in his head telling him he didn't belong. He tried to stick close to his sister, but she was a social butterfly quickly absorbed into a laughing, shouting swarm of friends. Jake was left adrift. That's when he saw the sea of college kids and teenagers. This guy stood out, and not in a good way. He was probably in his 40s or 50s, with a balding head and thick glasses that magnified his eyes. He was wearing a plain, dark polo shirt buttoned all the way to the top. Jake's first, strange thought was that he looked like a creepy priest. The man wasn't talking to anyone. He was just watching. And Jake felt his gaze land on him, a cold, clinical stare that made the hair on his arms stand up. He quickly looked away, his heart starting to hammer against his ribs, and began weaving his way through the crowd, trying to put as many people as possible between himself and those eyes. He found a small clearing at the edge of the woods, away from the main chaos. The fireworks were about to start. From here, he could see the sky perfectly without having to pretend he was having a good time. A sense of peace finally washed over him as the first firework screamed into the night, exploding in a shower of glittering gold. For a few minutes, everything else melted away. His mind was sucked into the beauty of the fireworks, each colorful burst reflecting in his eyes red, blue, white. And suddenly, he couldn't breathe. A hand, rough and smelling of dirt, was clamped hard over his mouth. An arm like an iron band wrapped around his chest, lifting him off his feet and dragging him backwards, into the darkness of the trees. The brilliant explosions in the sky continued, but now their sound was muffled, distant, a soundtrack to a horror film that was suddenly his life. He was kicking, thrashing, but the grip was impossibly strong. He could hear the man's low grunts of effort, could feel the panic rising in his throat like acid. He was being pulled deeper into the woods, away from the light, away from the noise, away from anyone who could possibly hear him. His mind was a blank wall of terror. Then, a spark of pure survival instinct cut through the fog. Fight. He had to fight. As his feet scraped against the ground, his flailing hand brushed against something hard and cold. A rock. He didn't think. He just acted. He curled his fingers around the big stone, its weight a sudden, brutal reality in his palm. With every ounce of strength he had left, he swung his arm back and then forward, smashing the rock into the side of the man's head. He felt the sickening impact. The man screamed, a wet, gurgling sound, and his grip loosened for just a second. It was all Jake needed. He wrenched himself free, stumbled, and ran. He didn't look back. He just sprinted toward the light and the noise of the party, his lungs on fire, not stopping until he crashed back into the crowd, a ghost re-emerging from the dark. Jake made it out. He escaped a monster who used the chaos of a party as his hunting ground. It's a terrifying thought, that safety in numbers can sometimes be a complete and utter illusion. But as chilling as that is, I want you to consider a question that, for me, is even more terrifying. What happens when the danger isn't hiding in the woods outside a party? What happens when the monster is already inside the one place on Earth you're supposed to be safe, your own home? That's the reality a 15-year-old named Ivan faced, home alone on the 4th of July. He was enjoying the quiet, until he started hearing noises. Noises coming from the one place in the house his parents had warned him, his entire life, never to go. The basement. For 15 years, it was just a door he never opened. A place for dusty Christmas decorations and forgotten things. But on this 4th of July, it was the source of a sound that made the hair on his arms stand up. It was a dull thud. Heavy. Like a stack of books falling over. Ivan paused his game of League of Legends, headset still on, and listened. Nothing, just the muffled pop-pop-pop of distant fireworks and the hum of the refrigerator. He told himself it was the house settling. It was an old house, after all. He tried to focus back on the screen, but his ears were straining, listening for something more, and then he heard it. A scrape, the unmistakable sound of a heavy metal box being dragged across a concrete floor. This was different. This was deliberate. A cold knot formed in his stomach. He slowly, carefully, slid the headset off. Now, the house was utterly silent, and in that silence, his imagination ran wild. He crept out of his room, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. He stood at the top of the stairs, staring down into the dark first-floor hallway where the basement door was. He thought about his mom's warning, Ivan, never go in the basement alone. If you ever hear anything, you call me. His hands were shaking as he dialed her number. Mom, he whispered, I think there's someone in the basement. He heard her voice shift instantly from cheerful to panicked, and her panic fed his. She told him to call 911 immediately, to lock himself in his room, to not make a sound. He hung up, his finger hovering over the emergency call button. And that's when he heard the worst sound yet. A loud click, the sound of the basement door's bolt being turned from the other side. It was opening. He didn't wait. He sprinted back to his room, slammed the door, and fumbled with the lock. He could hear them now. Not just noises, but a person. Rummaging through their things downstairs, opening drawers, cupboards. A presence in his home that was not supposed to be there. He finally got through to 911, whispering his address, explaining the situation to the calm, steady voice of the dispatcher. But that calm voice felt a million miles away because now he could hear footsteps. They were coming up the stairs. Slow, heavy, deliberate. One step at a time. Creak. Pause. Creak. Pause. They were taking their time. They knew he was there. The doorknob to his bedroom began to jiggle, gently at first, then violently. Ivan scrambled backward, his eyes locked on the door, his body numb with a terror so absolute it felt like his heart had stopped. The wood of the door frame splintered. It was going to break. He had nowhere else to go except the window. He didn't think. He just acted. He threw open his second-story window, looked down at the dark grass below, and jumped. The fall felt like an eternity, and the landing was a flash of white-hot agony. He heard a sickening snap as he hit the ground. His left ankle was broken. He tried to scream, but only a choked gasp came out. He lay there on the grass, consumed by pain, and forced himself to look up. To his window, and in the frame, a silhouette. It looked down at him. A face he would never forget. A crooked mouth, brown wiry hair, and eyes so dark he couldn't even see them. It just stared. Then, in the distance, the wail of sirens grew louder, and the face was gone. Ivan survived, but the sight of that disturbing face in his own window haunted him for years. And that feeling, that terrifying certainty of being watched, brings us to our final story tonight. It was the same holiday. Another celebration. A 21-year-old was at his parents' house with his girlfriend, setting off some small fireworks in the backyard. It felt normal. It felt safe when they ran out. He went to the garage to grab the bigger ones they were saving for later, but the side door to the garage was wide open. Inside, it was a mess. His dad's expensive tools were gone. The place was ransacked. They called his dad, who rushed over immediately. They surveyed the scene, the frustration mixing with a creeping sense of violation. They knew the thief was long gone. After a while, his dad sighed. "Well, they're gone now," he said. "Might as well not let it ruin the whole night." It was a small act of defiance. A refusal to let a criminal spoil their holiday, so they decided to light the biggest firework they had left. A massive missile that promised a spectacular explosion. They planted it in the grass, pointing it towards the dark tree line at the edge of the property. They lit the fuse and ran back. The rocket screamed into the night sky, a rising trail of orange sparks. And then, it detonated. A huge, brilliant flash of white light bloomed in the sky, momentarily turning their dark backyard into daylight. And in that flash of light, they saw it as the rocket exploded. It provided just enough light to see a figure in the woods. Facing them, perfectly still. Just watching. The joyful oohs and ahs died in their throats. It was him. It had to be the person who had just robbed them. He hadn't left. He had stayed to watch the show, his dad yelled, pure adrenaline in his voice. The two of them, without a second thought, sprinted towards the woods. They crashed through the underbrush, shouting, branches whipping at their faces, but there was nothing. No sound. No snapped twigs. The figure had vanished as if it were never there at all. They were alone in the dark woods, with only the fading echo of a firework and the chilling image of a silent spectator burned into their minds. They retreated inside, locking every door, but the image of that silent spectator was burned into their minds. The safety of their home now felt like a fragile illusion. A few hours later, a flicker of light from the window. The garage light was on. Again, their hearts dropped, rushing out. They found the place completely ransacked, thousands of dollars in tools just gone. They scrambled back to the house to check the security footage, desperate for a clue, only to find the screen was just dark. The lens was obscured. Blocked. A final, dreadful trip back to the garage revealed why. Stuck directly to the camera's lens was a small, yellow post-it note, a note taken from a pad sitting on their own kitchen desk, and in neat, deliberate handwriting, it read, "Happy Independence Day. __. You. A predator using a celebration for cover. An intruder using fireworks to mask his entry. A stalker who returns not to steal, but just to leave a message of pure hatred." These stories are a brutal reminder. The moments we feel most connected, most celebratory, can be the very moments we are most vulnerable. They teach us that true horror isn't just about what happens in the dark, it's about the darkness that can find us in the light. If these stories sent a shiver down your spine, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more. Real horror you won't find anywhere else. A word of warning, content like this often walks a fine line. To make sure you don't miss what comes next, be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications. Stay safe, and stay vigilant.